So I guess I'm actually gonna play this thing. Try to get some enjoyment out of it. I mean, the let me go over a couple more of the aspects that I think are of importance here. Specific effects from the cycle. What does that mean? Well, if there's an event, a special event is determined by one of these. We also have an effect where the red zone is, where it increases the radiation rolls. That goes nicely in with the solar flares. What else do we have? We had a little political chart. That's kind of nice. Oh, what's kind of nice is we have a description of all of the cards and where things lie on them. That's in the rule book, but it's nice to have an example of it on the board as well, because we have that kind of example over here for the movement paths, and now we have it for the cards. I find that a bonus. I've seen some people claiming that the expanded board is not really an advantage, that the advanced game is not really an advantage except for the expanded board. I can't really speak on that. So here's the political chart. And it does affect play, there's no question of that. Basically, if an election comes, and that comes off of events in the blue zone, random events happening, and only the special random event, here we got the table of the different types. If that happens, everybody's allowed to bid, and they bid water as usual. The winning bidder discards their water to the bank. There's no auctioneer in this. And then they're allowed to move the political chit one space. And it's kind of hard to see, but you see there's little lines traversing between the different spaces. Now, at the start of the game, the UN player has a 5 victory point advantage, which means if the game were to end while he's still there, he gets 5 victory points. And likewise, we have that with sort of the end points from the different players, where if it's in a colored zone, they get a 5-point advantage. If it's not in a colored zone, it could be anarchy, which means more than just the PRC is allowed to commit felonies, which is things like stealing water, jumping claims, and the like. If it's in the war zone, you can do felonies, but you can also actually attack other people, and you do that using your ray guns, your missiles, and potentially your buggies if you have a high thrust. Now, if it's in one of the other zones, other than the UN one in the colored spaces, one of the other kind of final zones, there's special rules that apply. For example, if it hits the anti-nuke space, everybody's got to throw out all their reactors and they can't build more. That could be a huge, huge problem. I don't know how many thrusters require reactors, but certainly this guy up here does. And I think thrusters are going to be the only thing that requires reactors. I'm not positive of that. But that is going to make life more difficult. Now, let's see what else we got here. So yeah, I guess that's about it, except for one more thing on the PRC's turn. If the zone is in anarchy, they can move it to an adjacent war zone. Now, they certainly want to do that in either of these anarchy positions, I would think, because that gets them closer to their authoritarian, which gets rid of the free market, but it also gives them 5 victory points. I don't know if they'd want to move it to this one, because that's moving perhaps further, or probably further away from their own. The map itself, alignments, not quite perfect. You have to kind of shift. It's not absolutely obvious because the colors seem a little twisted on them. So this purple line is going to what? low Earth orbit to Hertha. And now Hertha is here, but that same purple line seems to take you out to here. So it's sort of as though these paths that are best paths are now being used for a dual function. One is the best route to something that it was in the basic game, and now we've got another one, which is let's branch this and go out to Callisto. I think that's an okay situation. Took me a moment to realize. The biggest issue though still is the alignment's not perfect. You know, if I line this one up, I don't line that one up. That's disturbing to me. There's something that this much effort was put into to get to look a certain way. Just a shame. Probably an issue to do with the crease line here not aligning things, I'm not sure. Because I know that there's an original master that covers all of this very well. And that original master actually goes beyond this expansion board, which is kind of an interesting thought, that if this game does well and continues to do well, there may be more and more maps available for it, because there's still a lot of solar system available. What do we add? Well, we add Jupiter, and you know, these huge planets. So for example, Jupiter, I don't even think you can land on Jupiter, can you? Yeah, it doesn't look like you can actually land on Jupiter. It does look like you can get into Saturn's atmosphere. That's very expensive. But there are really, really rich territories surrounding these. Now, 9, that's quite a thrust to get off of, what is this, Ganymede? Ganymede? I don't know. Callisto, Europa. Those are very large. But we've got some smaller ones here. And there's definitely a lot of wealth around Saturn. Now, Saturn is so far out that I don't know, that may take a game-long effort to try to make it to. But with all the water there, it definitely makes it more attractive than most of what I see on the original board. There are still some good places. Ceres, for example, is still a wonderful little location that doesn't require a lot of thrust. But most of the board doesn't have a lot of water and isn't really easily accessible. So I'm beginning to think that maybe this expanded side of the board does offer some good options for a player who can load up a decent sized exploration to that. Definitely saw some of the exploration that happened in my last game down here towards the end of the game, where somebody was hitting a lot of different things at once. Well, none of them really panned out all that well. I think it was the winning player who got those. What else do we have to worry about? We have to worry about cooling. Some things require a certain amount of coolant, and that includes, for example, here the Robonaut needs cooling. Now, it can use its own, basically whatever cooler you use for the Robonaut probably isn't being used at the same time you're using the thrusters. So it's okay to use the same radiator for both, say, the thrust and the coolant. I'm not seeing any requirement on this particular thruster for it, and refineries may need it, but refineries are something, again, that would be used not at the same time necessarily. Doesn't look like any of the crew cards require any additional any of the supplemental cards, which is good. Because they may be your way back after you decommission stuff. What else do we have? The generator. Like I said, some things just require a certain kind of generator, and that's pretty much it there. Now their masses in the basic game have been reduced to cover the fact that you're going to need one of these. And then finally a reactor, which again may be a requirement on certain tools. So for example, the refinery at the top needs an electrical generator. Well, they all generate electricity, so that's not too bad. And it needs, and the thruster needs a nuclear reactor. Well, no, wait, a bomb reactor. I don't know what the symbols are for them. But anyway, there's different types of reactors that are necessary. There's also dirt cards, dirt power generators. I don't see one of them up there, but that allows you to kind of avoid using the ISRU requirements. So you can refuel from just about anything. What you can't do, and you can actually even dump equipment that you don't necessarily need into your reactor and refuel with that. It's a very cool little option. Just, you know, a lot of different little things added to this. So I'm about to start. I don't know how much I want to film it, but I wanted to give a view of at least setting it up and getting an idea of it and some of the changes that are in place.